Well, welcome back. Today I am going to attempt to make faux leather using hanging file folders and water and coffee dye. So let's get started. I'm taking some instant coffee. I'm going to put it in this container, which I have hot water in. It's not like boiling water, it's just hot water from the sink. I'm going to put the instant coffee in there. Depending on how dark you want the water, the coffee dye, is to how many packets you put in. Usually when I don't do too much, I can get away with only using one little packet. I'm also going to use the coffee dye to dye some colored papers for making journal pages. And when I'm going to do that, I'll do it near the end, because the faux leather, the file folders, the hanging file folders have to set for 30 minutes in the water and soak up a lot of the water. You'll have to keep track of it. Let's place this in. Just put the one side in, let it kind of get a little wet, and then shove the rest in. It's a very thick material, so we have to let it sit for the 30 minutes. So it can really absorb the water into all the pores. And then we'll see what it looks like when we're done. But like the last, I'd say 5 minutes of it, I'm going to just put some regular paper in as well to allow that to dye. If it looks like that this has absorbed too much of the water and there's not going to be enough, all I'm going to do is just add some more water. I'm not going to add more coffee. I have a stack of just some different regular colored paper that I'm just going to dye and put in the coffee stain water. So let's check back in 30 minutes. Okay, let's take a look at how this came out. I added some paper to the coffee dye about the last 10 minutes. So I'm going to take this paper out, and then we'll take a look at the file folders and see if it soaked up enough of the water. So the oven's on 300, and we're going to dry this after we take it out. So take out the file folder and you crunch it up and get it all wrinkly. Put it back in, kind of like you're wringing it out. Then you're going to open it all the way. Then close it back up again, but in a different way. And open it up again, then close it back up again, bringing it up a different way. And that's what it looks like. So it kind of does look like a leather fabric. We will see what it looks like after I've crumpled it up several more times and then put it in the oven to dry, and then I will show you the final project, and then maybe we can use this as an outside cover for a journal, like faux leather journal. Today we're going to turn our faux leather that we created into a small mini journal. So this was the result of the hanging file folders being soaked in the coffee dye. It didn't turn it that too much of a brown color. If you have hanging file folders that are more brown, that would work better. But I like it. I like the wrinkly texture to it and everything. So what I did was I cut out the shape of how small I want and want the journal to be, and I took some of the brown dye that I have and I used the brush and I dyed this side. So what you do is you try to figure out how small you want your journal to be, and you can cut out with cardstock, and I rounded the corners and then I glued it down, and then I need to finish gluing it. So let me get the glue out. Using glue instead of the rolling glue tape or the actual tape with glue is a little more sturdy, but it is definitely messier. So I'm just putting the glue along the edge here. Oh, sorry, forgot. You take another piece of cardstock that will fit here in the center, but go over just by a little bit. See the size of this here? So it's going over just by a little, and it leaves it open here in the center, and you take the cardstock and you glue it to some more of the faux leather. This I didn't have to dye because it's going to be on the inside of the journal. So you want to glue this down first before you finish pulling up the sides and gluing those down. So let's just put some, okay, so we've got all that, and we're just going to line it up here in the center. You line it up here down at the bottom, make sure that it's evenly distributed among the sides, which it looks like it is. And I'm just going to have this little piece of wood here. Some people use this plastic dowel type of thing that you can get from the store. But my husband made me this. It's like a wedge, wooden wedge. So I kind of use that to hold stuff down. Alright. So now that that's glued down, we run the glue along the edges here to glue the sides. Okay, let's turn this side up here. Let's start it in the center and move down. And then I like to use clips to help hold things down when I'm gluing. Okay, so then we got that, and I'm going to do the other side. Put some glue down here. Any excess glue, it doesn't matter because it's going to get covered up by an inside cover piece anyway. So, and it dries clear, so we just need it to be down, glued down, and as smooth as possible, especially since we're going to be putting in a piece on the inside here. Let me see if I move this. Yep, it looks like it's going to stay down there, so I'm going to put my paper clip over here. Make sure that's down nice and flat. Here, I don't know if it wants to stick there or not. Let's see if I can move this. Yep, that's staying pretty good. Let's move this paper clip over here. It doesn't take too long for this glue to dry, doesn't seem like, so we will use a elastic, and I like to have a little piece on the end, so I have cut a small piece of cardstock in this shape, so the elastic will go through here and it will help to like close on the end of the book. So we are going to cover it in the faux leather as well. So I punched holes, figured out where the center was, punched holes. So now we just have to glue this down. I did at first do a bluish color, but I also put some of the brown on top of it as well, so it's like a bluish brown. So let me get some of this glue and glue this together. Okay, so we got that glued down, and we got some extra glue kind of oozing out of here. So we can use some of that to help. And I think what, instead of putting another piece of the faux leather on the inside here to close it up and make it look neat, what I think I had decided to do is the piece that we're going to put on the inside is we're also going to put in here, so it'll have the same inside decoration. This needs just trimmed up just a tiny bit. Okay. Alright, so while this is drying, remember you have a curved corners, so you kind of have to allow these pieces to come down and be glued to where you can still kind of see the corner as a curve instead of a point. Alright, let's take all of our clips off, see how it will fold. So this is the cover, and we're going to fold it over. And kind of get the idea of where the center is. All right, so here's the backbone of it. In this mini journal, we are only going to have one signature with a lot of pages. So we're going to have a 20-page signature, but it's only going to be one page, one signature, but 20 pages. So so we open it up here, and first we need to do the elastic that's going to go in the center that will wrap around and hold the book closed. So we need to find where the center is here. So we take see, we found the center. Take the ruler. Let's see. Find the center here. Looks like going to be 3. Right here. So there's the center. So we need to give enough room for the punching of the holes. So I know this is shining the light on So we're going to go like a 1/4 inch above the center, 1/4 inch below the center, and then we're going to go ahead and punch the holes. Make sure it's set for punching the hole. It is. Change the setting, and we're going to use these little rings that you can compress into place. So we want the nice side out, and even though that looked like the center, it doesn't look like it folded exactly on the center. You know, it's homemade art, homemade crafts, so it just happens the way it happens. So sometimes I have to come and punch from the other side. Oh, let me switch it back in order to make, when you're using these, because to be honest, the hole is just a little too small, so you're kind of punching from the other side to try to make them just big enough for the items to go in. Okay, there's one. Let's move this, move it up to the setting for I think they call them brads or something, and push down, and it compresses it to where it holds it in. So let's do the other one. So obviously I'm not perfect at lining things up, but not everyone is perfect, so to me that's okay. So what we want to do is we want to take our elastic, and we're going to go ahead and just braid it through. And I'm going to hold it here, and I'm going to stretch it out enough and we hold it down so that you can see how long you need it for it to. Okay, so if we leave it right there. Okay, so here is how far it would go. That's just barely touching it. Now with pages inside, it's going to make it even bigger because it has to go around the book, and then we want it to be able to stretch to hold it. So by having it all the way here, I think it's just a little too long, so I'm just going to pull in just a tiny bit. There we go. So it's giving it a little bit more space here. So that's where I want it to connect and be tight there. So I'm going to cut this off here. Now, some other people, they use clips and they, hold the two pieces together with a metal clip or some of some sort, and then they use pliers and they clamp it down. But what I do is I take needle and thread and I go up, and then I wrap it around and then tie it. So I'm going to do that right now, and I will show you the end product. So I almost forgot that you have to, for the piece that we're putting on the outside, I put the inside, I'm going to be using this for the inside of the journal, so I cut a corner out of it and I glued it to the inside here. Now I have to do the punching of the holes through that paper. Okay, so now that it's properly punched, the hole is correct now. this is the part that I almost missed, so we want to have it go through, back over. So it's like this, and then it will go through the inside. Of the book, journal book. So once it's sewed, then this will come around the outside of the book, and it will be a help to help hold it closed. So this is now the time, now that I've got that on, that where I can take and sew this together so it won't move. So I will get back to you after I've done that. Okay, so now I have this tied up. There we go. So put the needle and thread through one and then the other, and then you wrap it around and then you tie it off. So that's not going to go anywhere. So after I did that, I punched the 2 holes. So I did them 1/2 inch apart. So I want to show you with the last two of these, I found a good way. So I've taken the tweezers and kind of just stretching the hole a little bit, and if you put the ring on it and you just kind of twist it and push with the tweezers, it can only go so far up. So at some point it finally pushes in, and then you just have to like hold it down with your fingernail while you pop it out. So then let's get this crushed down. Okay, do the last one. Oh, forgot to stretch it out a little. So we're just kind of stretching it just a little. You don't want to stretch it too much or the ring will slide right through the hole and then it's worthless. Okay, there we go. Finally pops in. That's definitely a lot faster than me fighting with it like it was earlier. Let's crush this down. I'm turning it sideways so that I don't have to push against this when I crunch it down. If I turn it sideways, then it's pushing down there. So there's the 2 holes for the spine. So we're going to put a strip of elastic in to hold the signature that we're using for this mini journal. And we don't want to put the inside in yet because we're going to cover up our sewn parts on the inside. I want the insides to be where they touch. So we're going to go on the outside, all the way across, back in through here, and then this side will have to come through, but I need to cut some of it off so I have an end to work with. So I wanted the 2 inside holes to be the ones that have to be sewn. So you want it pretty tight because you want it to be able to hold the journal in really well. So you want this pretty tight. So let's see, I need to cut a little bit more off. Alright. So pulling that a little tighter, we're allowing this to be nice and taut for it to hold the journal in. So that's about how tight we want it. So we're going to just cut the little bit off. You want it to overlap some so that when you sew through the 2 and wrap around, you have some space for it to wrap around. So we want to cut it about here. Okay, so now I take the needle and thread excess off. Okay. And these two are going to be pulled together like that. So you have to figure out how far in it's going. Just about this far. And you shove it through the elastic. Have it come up with the knot at the bottom. Now, when you come up through the other piece, you can't put it really close to the end because it'll just shred and it'll come pop off the side. So you have to leave some space. So you have to come up, I'd say maybe 1/8 of an inch in. If you think that you're going to stab yourself, you can go down towards the journal, towards the table, something like that. All right, so here we go. Let's pull this taut so it's nice and tight. Okay, so it's lined up like that, and it's pulled through both of them, so then you just start weaving it around. So I'm done wrapping, so I'm just going to kind of go through, and if you can take a little chunk of the elastic as you go through to make the knot, then it just ensures that you've got a good hold. So here I am, go through, and then you do the little knot portion, pull nice and tight, and then I just am going to do a second one through some of this thread here. Get a little chunk of the elastic in it so it secures it really well. Pull that through, go through, makes it a knot, and then cut that off. So I did one before, and it has 3 signatures. So it had this one, and then it had one next to it and one next to it on each side. So it has 3 different signatures inside. So now that we're done with this, we will put the inside decoration. I'm just using a little bit of thick cardstock with a design, and we're going to see how this fits in here. And basically you're going to put one on each side, and then you're going to put a nice strip here down the middle to cover it, and that will take care of covering all of that. So all you will see is just the one piece that your signature holds into. So let's get that part done. I'm going to leave just a tiny bit on the side here. Cutter. It should be the same on each side, so I should be able to cut this one and then cut the one next to it. Let's see, where's my pencil? Okay, there's my pencil mark. It's lined up so it'll be straight. Since it's a whole sheet, I have to go from both sides in order to cut through it. There we go. So do we want to do, yep, I want to use some of this, part of this that says the world. Or do I want to have, I'll do the Western Hemisphere. So we'll line this up here, put that through. Make sure It's exactly the same size. So there we go. Now we need to figure out how far down it has to go. So let's put this here. We want to leave a tiny bit at the top and have it be a little bit at the bottom. So let's mark it right here so we can give it a small space. Make sure they're both lined up nicely. Both at the same time. Works out well that way. Okay, and we need to round the corners because our journal's kind of got rounded corners as well. So we're just going to, we need to make them pretty sharp, or I think that the middle size probably will be good enough. Let's see. Maybe a little bit more. Let's do the bigger one. There we go. Okay, so this one says Eastern Hemisphere. The book's going to open this direction, so we want to be able to see the writing if we do look at it. So here we are. Put that right on the edge, as far over as we can without going over. And so then this is where we'll glue it in here. Okay. Now let's do the other side. So wherever the elastic is, we just make a pencil mark. And we're just going to take our scissors And just cut a small little notch out on either side to make room for the elastic. Kind of fold it up a little. Just kind of cut across it. There we go. Same thing on this side. Lift it up. Let's see if it's enough. It's like a dry fit. Kinda. There we go. And it looks like we have enough cut out. So that's exactly where it's going to go. And so now, as you can tell, when we glue this down, it's covering up all the sewn and bad looking pieces. So we won't see them. So it's nice and tidy. So let's get that glued in using my craft bond here. Just put a little bit of extra in the center here so it kind of holds on to those elastic pieces. We want it to be all the way on the edge. So that the whole thing stays down. So we want to make sure that we have the glue all the way to the edge. Okay. Take my tweezers here to try to do it. Okay, let's lift this up. It in, get it all lined up, and I'm actually going to use my nice little wooden wedge here to help. Okay, so we might have to clamp some of it down if it doesn't want to stay down until it dries. Just run our finger across it there. Grab a couple of these clamps. Make sure it's nice and staying down. All right. So we'll let this dry for a minute, and then I will show you the putting together the signature to go inside. So while that's drying, here are some pages, journal pages that I have either dyed or dyed and painted that we could use for the journal. This seems like it might be the proper size. Let's see. It could be used inside. It's not too big, it's not too small. So I think I'm going to probably, out of the 20 pages, I'll probably have 4 of these. So let's look through and pick 3 more. That one has blue on it. This one I like kind of how it has lines through it. Ooh, I like this one. It's kind of got a little bit, but it's got the nice water stains. I like the water stains. So let's pick 2 of those with the water stains. So we got these 2. And let's get one more. Ooh, I like that really dark one. This one has a nice big water stain to it and a little bit of the blue, so we'll pick that one. Okay, so that's 4 pages. So now let's choose the other 16 out of here. So these are all dyed, and they were coffee dyed when we did the faux leather out of the folder. We didn't waste the coffee dye, and we coffee dyed some of these pages, which already were a color, but with the coffee dye it kind of added to it. They were also dried inside the oven, so as you can see, some of them have a nice little pattern to them. So I really like that one, so I'm just going to do 16 of those. So one, let's do this one, two, $16 pages here plus 4 here, that'd be 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Awesome. Okay, so we need to figure out what size all of these pages have to be. And we have to decide, do we want a rough ripped cut, or do we want a smooth edge? So as we let's take the clips off. The glue is probably done now. As we close it up, we've got it. We're looking at the size of it. We want to be able to place it in underneath here, so it's got to be this tall, and we don't want it to go all the way to the edge, so we want to have a little bit of a lip. So as we fold one of these pages, we obviously is going to be too long, so we'll have to cut some there, and it will be too wide as well. So let's just put that right underneath the edge. So if we have that there, we want to have it a little bit in. So let's say about there. So we have to decide, do we want to have rough edges or do we want to have them straight? So this is my last journal that I made, similar but with fabric instead of this. I made the wrong way. This way it's supposed to be the way we made it for this journal, but in this one I have all rough edges. So while I do like it and it turned out well for this one, that doesn't mean that I'm going to want it for every journal I make. So I think what we should do for this one is to have nice clean cut edges. This is the one I was talking about where I have the 3. Nice, huh? So we're going to use the cutter and we're going to cut them all to be this width, and we have to figure out where'd my pencil go? Here it is. Here. Let's try that. So I'll cut a couple of them and then we'll put them in and see how it works out. Okay, so I cut 2 of them and I have lined up here. We slice that in and it's cut pretty good, so the top and the bottom, and it fits really well. So I think this is the size we're going to cut all the pages to. And the only thing is that these are smaller, but we don't necessarily want to make it this small. So it's okay if they're smaller, and they fit in here. So for example, you don't want the smallest one to be the inside where you hook it into the elastic. So this is what it will look like inside the journal. Let me add the small one in. You just fold the small one in half to where it's levelly in half, and then when you go flip through the pages, so there and there it'll be, and then you just journal over it. And then this way you would do here, and then journal over it on this side. So it works out well. And this we don't have to make, because we're not lining them up. You don't have to make them perfect here. So I will get to cutting all the rest of the pages and show you the finished product. Okay, so I cut all those 16 pages, and I have folded them up and inserted the book pages in with them, all 4 of them. So here's all the pages for the journal. So there's 20 pages, so that leaves 40 journaling pages if you count each side. So then let's take our new journal that we made out of the faux leather, and we slide this in, and see we made it nice and tight so it's holding the pages in well. And we can close it up like this and take the elastic over to the side, and that holds it closed just like that. And that's our faux leather journal. So keep an eye out for some of my ASMR journaling time that I do. I will journal in this small little journal here, and I will have a good time, and I hope you enjoy it.